Hello everybody. So this is the third video in my series on the annual charts, and we're going to look at some other techniques we can use. So here's the software. We're still with Albert Einstein. Now we've got a few charts that relate to the natal data, and here we want to put some things that relate to 1 year in his life. Now, under the layout examples, we have some Varshphal options, like Varshphal single year. And this one has Dasha indications. And this one is just the original single year. And this one has multiple years. So that's all fine. But we're just first going to try setting up something from scratch. So we go back to Albert Einstein. And we're going to click this OK plus special. You see down here it says Varshphal, Tithi Pravesh, etc. So under OK plus special, we can create various annual charts that are based on this nativity, and they become what I call the native 2. So nothing appears on the screen, but the data is there ready to be used. So we click here. And the first tab that comes up is the Varshphal, but over here is Pravesh. You see Pravesh. Pravesh means entry in Sanskrit. So you have various choices: Tithi Pravesh, Yoga Pravesh, Nakshatra Pravesh, and Chaitra Shukla. Now the Chaitra Shukla chart is used for the annual charts for the world and for countries. You can use it for, well, it's just used for countries really. Theoretically, you could use it for people, but not really, because there's it's for mundane charts. All right, so let's select Tithi Pravesh, and this we're doing it for his natal place. You can always change the place, and then you click OK, and now you see it's up here as TP 2024. So if you want some other year, this is the Tithi Pravesh for 2024 for Albert Einstein. If we want any other year, we could have changed the year before we clicked OK, or we click here on the date or time, and it says, do you want to change the year? So you can just change the year. So let's do 1905, which was his annus mirabilis, when he had his created relativity theory. If you click here, you can go on to data entry, so select some other chart, or you click OK and you've got that year. So now it's TP 1905. So it's easy to change things. When you click on the date or time for either of these nativities up here, then it'll take you into data entry, unless you have a Pravesh chart or a Varshphal chart, in which case it'll let you change the date if you want, or the year anyway. So here we go. This thing is created. So anything we put here that is for this nativity will come out with a blue heading, and it'll apply to that year. So we can start with a Tithi Pravesh chart, or we can start with a regular chart. Let's try a regular chart. So we'll just put a, now we have a special thing called all divisions. This is a wonderful feature of the software. So there are two all division charts. One has special variations. We don't really need that today. So we click on this. And you see along the top, it's got all the different Varga charts available. So you just click on one. Suppose you want the Navamsha chart, you just click there, and it shows you the Navamsha chart. Now, because it's a red heading, it applies to Albert Einstein. But if we click on it, and we clear that, we'll see native for this. So you see native for this, and we can select the Tithi Pravesh 1905, and we click done. And now it's got the blue heading. So this was this Navamsha chart for this date and time in 1905. And this is the Rashi chart. So we can put anything we like here, and it'll be for this particular chart here. So for example, we could put some, see, for Tithi Pravesh, there's a special Dasha system called Tithi Ashtotri Dasha, specifically for Tithi Pravesh. And it's a variation of a Ashtotri Dasha based on the Tithi. So we'll put that here. So we can type a little bit of Tithi or Shtotri. You see Tithi or Shtotri Dasha. So now we've got it. Now, if we wanted to, here we can change it again by clicking on it. But suppose we wanted to create one without going through the choices and options twice, then we select the native first. So we say native for this, and then we Tithi Pravesh, and then we type a little bit of Tithi, and we see it down here. So this is now for this chart, and this is the natal chart. We don't need that. You can delete it with delete this object. I just right-clicked on it, and I got this pop-up. This pop-up has lots of potential uses. So now we have the chart, we have the special dashas, and you see this chart only goes on for 1 year. So here it is starting with Saturn Dasha just before the year started, and here Saturn starting again just before the next year started. So this Tithi Shtotri Dasha is only intended for using for the year, because the Tithi Pravesh chart is really only lasting in a year. Now, in our first annual charts video, I did show that you can get all kinds of predictions for long distance, for what will happen. You know, things have to happen in that year, but the consequences in the longer term will also show. So it's not that it's purely restricted to the year, but normally we're only using the Dasha systems compressed into 1 year. And we can compress the Vimshottri Dasha also. So let's put, we want to put, say, Vimshottri Dasha here. And first we'll change the native to this one. And then we'll type a bit of Vimshottri Dasha. And now we've got this. Now, this is the regular Vimshottri. It's going to go on for 120 years before a new cycle starts, these K2 here and K2 here. But there's Dasha options. So if we go into the Dasha options, I could have selected this before I chose the Vimshottri. Then I would have done it all in one process. So in here, we have a total cycle length. Standard means it's as long as the Dasha standard length. But if we click on this, you have lots of choices. And the first choice is 1 year. So we do 1 year. And now we have Vimshottri for 1 year. So you see again, K2 here and K2 here. So, and of course we can do, you know, as many levels as we like, up to 6. So we can see that in this particular year, this is when he completed his PhD. That we have a date for, but the other things that he did during the year, we don't know exactly when he did them, but they may have been in this Venus or in K2. This is based on this chart. So, you know, the fact that we got a South Indian chart is because the last chart I created was a South Indian chart. We can change it to North if we want. You just click on it, and well, the easy way is to type a bit of North. And there you see, you just click here, like this. Or you can just look under the chart options, and here you'll see it, North. You can go back to South Indian if you like. So this year starts with Aquarius, with Saturn and K2. So let's face it, if it's going to be an annus mirabilis, the whole world is going to say, wow, K2 has to be involved. K2 is the wow planet. Saturn, of course, in Aquarius is very strong, and Aquarius has a powerful connection to research because it's the, you know, Rahu's the research planet, and it's a co-lord of Aquarius. In his natal chart, Aquarius is the 9th house with Jupiter. So that could suggest, because the 9th house is global, anything global. So Jupiter in the 9th house, everybody all over the world, they think you're some kind of guru, you know, wise man. So that's being activated in this year. And then we see the various things about the year. Venus is with Jupiter, which is always an indication of some kind of special insight. Venus and Jupiter, according to Maharishi Jaimini, gives insight. The two planets dominating here are Ketu and Venus. I mean, if it's compressed into a year, then you've got all the planets. But maybe his, you see, the 1905 year only starts in March. I mean, the first 3 months aren't there in 1905 because it's the annual chart, you see. So we're wondering, is this big discovery coming during Ketu, coming during Venus, coming during Sun? Well, we have arguments for Ketu and Venus particularly. So I think it's more likely that he produced his relativity sometime around or before he completed his PhD, but I don't know for sure. In the Tithi Ashtotri, so we see Saturn, Jupiter, they're all the planets. So it's going to be, you see, when you're dealing with a year, you have all the planets, and so they're changing quite fast, every couple of months, or every month even, for the shorter ones. So it's giving you more specific detail. It's more specific. So a more high level you get from the natal chart, dashas. So suppose you want to change the year. Suppose you say, okay, we've studied 1905, but we think, well, maybe he started doing something fantastic before March. He's born in March. So, and this Tithi Pravesh started 27th of March. We can just click here and go back a year. And when we do that, of course, everything changes. These don't change, but all the blue headings change. So this is the point I wanted to make. If you're studying a year in depth, you can put any kind of charts, dashas, tables, graphs, and they will change. They will all change when you change this. Now, we learned in the second video about using these increments and decrements. So if we decide to increment the year by 1, now you see it's not 1905 and everything here is 1905. So this is another way, very easy way of moving the year. Like we want to go forward a few years to some maybe 1910, let's say. This is 1910. Let's put the events table here. So events table comes in 2 versions. This is the 2 wide. That just gives you more levels of the dasha, whichever dasha you're using. And it gives more space for the descriptions. If you're using a 1-by-1 events table, your descriptions are a little bit restricted. And you only have 3 levels of dashas. But most of the time, that's perfectly fine. So nothing perhaps is happening in 1910, but let's say in 1914, he must have gone to Berlin before the war started. So let's see about that. So this is the year the war started, and he went to Berlin just after the Tithi Pravesh started. So what do we see? Well, the ascendant is Sagittarius, Jupiter's in Capricorn. He must have been a bit disappointed with the war starting. He didn't really want his research to be used for weaponry. Because that's what happened. All the physicists got put on the job of calculating trajectories for shells. And I think he refused to do it. I seem to remember he didn't. He was a pacifist kind of. I mean, let's face it, the Germans tried to use him for the war effort in 1914. And then when it gets the next war, atomic bomb, you know, it's not like he invented the bomb, but he gave all the theory that caused the invention of the bomb. So, and I'm sure he was very disappointed by that too. But, you know, this is how it is. So anyway, this is basically giving you some clue about how to work with these annual charts on a single year. If we look at the layout example for the this one, this is new in version 10. So here we have a large chart for the Rashi chart, and this is the natal chart, and this is the Tithi Pravesh or Varshphal Pradesh. This is Varshphal. You can do that. You can set up a page like this for Tithi Pravesh. I may add it to layout examples, but at the moment you have to create it yourself. So how do you do that? Well, let's try this. Select Tithi Pravesh, and let's see, 1914. Okay. So this is now the 1914 chart, and everything here, except for this Patyayani Dasha is Varshphal. So what we see is that if you have a Patyayani, there are certain tables which are specifically Varshphal. So the Patyayani Varshphal Dashas are specifically Varshphal, and there's one or two others, it's Varshphal Balas and the VP Dasha indication. So these are only for Varshphal, they're not for Tithi Pravesh. So if you try and create a Tithi Pravesh chart, it'll just convert it back to being a Varshphal chart, because these things will force the Varshphal, because that's what they're for. And this saves you having to create a Varshphal chart every time you want to look on this page. When you go to this page, it'll create it for you. So it's really convenient, but if you want to do a Tithi Pravesh, Nakshatra Pravesh, Yoga Pravesh, you lay out the page yourself using, like I did, like I showed you just now. But this page is interesting. This type of dasha, this is the only dasha that really, well, there's two types of dashas that look like this. There's a Muda dasha, the progressed Muda dasha. So that also lays itself out like this. And these ones come with a little control here. So rather than going here and changing it or using the choices and options, you can just do plus here and it's changing the year. So anyway, I was going to say that the thing with the Patyayani, it's giving all this information about the year lord candidates, because one of the important things in Varshphal is to work out the lord of the year. So it does it for you, but you might study the chart carefully and for some reason you come to another conclusion. But it's based on these aspects, the special Tajika kind of aspects, and the Panchabala. So Panchabala totals are given here, but there are other balas, like the Dwadasha Bala. And in this table here, it's giving you all the detail about how this Panchabala is calculated. It's all at the top here. And then there's Harsha Bala, which is to do with happiness. You know, Harsha means happiness. So it gives the happiness index for the year. And then the Dwadasha Bala is, you know, a beneficial, shows how benefic it is based on 12 factors rather than 5. So this is all the balas that the Tajika people use, all in one table. Now down here are some standard kind of Varshphal indications for the ascendant and the various planets. So if you're doing Varshphal work, this is very nice. You've got a sort of mini report here showing the different periods. You see, you've got the different periods here. So you can see that during the sun period, there could be some gain of vehicles, status or power, but during the Mars period, you could be suffering from some some fighting, some health problems, even Mercury. This is based on the charts, and it's based on the dashas. So there's some pluses and minuses, you see, because Mars, of course, is with Saturn and Venus, so there's some complications, and Venus is definitely suffering. So, but Saturn is benefiting because it's in its own sign, and it has some benefit also there. So anyway, these are little things we can do. There's the Sahams, which are part of the Varshphal system. They're like, the Arabic parts are Sahams, you adding the ascendant and the sun and the moon, or there's some subtraction and things. So this is following Dr. Charak's book, and it just follows strictly the rules he gives there. Now, different books on Sahams have some slight variations. There's some people who add 30 degrees and some who don't. So if you don't get exactly the result that you're expecting from some other book, then that's the cause of it. So that's the story. Varshphal is its own system, while Yoga Pravesh, Tithi Pravesh, Nakshatra Pravesh are Vedic charts, which can be used with any type of Vedic astrology calculations. And I've shown you basically some very nice technique for using them as a group for getting some straightforward, quick idea of the annual experiences. Okay, thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and if you haven't watched them, watch the other 2 videos on the annual charts.